They forgot to invite me. My brother laughed when I found out. My parents made excuses. But when the money stopped coming, suddenly I mattered. Too late. My name is Lydia Crane, I'm 28, and that night was the one that finally broke something I had been patching up for years. It started like any other Tuesday. I was sitting on my couch scrolling mindlessly through Facebook during lunch break when I saw the photos. My aunt had posted them, smiling faces, clinking wine glasses, golden lights reflecting off the polished table in my parents' dining room. The caption read, "Another wonderful family dinner, so blessed." There was my mom pouring gravy into crystal dishes. My dad laughing at the head of the table. My cousins, my aunts, my uncles, even our old neighbor, Mr. Wexler, was in the background with a slice of pie in hand. Everyone was there. Everyone, except me. At first, I thought it had to be old. A throwback, maybe? Something from last year? But then I saw the date on the post. Yesterday. Yesterday, while I was curled up on my couch reading a novel, sipping tea, thinking, only a few more days until the dinner. Yesterday, they had already eaten. My stomach dropped. I zoomed in on the photos, desperate for a mistake. But it was clear. The same decorations my mother bragged about last week. The same new curtains she'd shown me over FaceTime. This was the dinner. The one we'd discussed for weeks in the family group chat. "You'll be there, right, sweetheart?" Mom had asked. "Of course," I'd said. "Oh, good. It'll be so nice to have everyone together." She said it like she meant it. I even believed her. I bought gifts, too. Small things. A new gardening kit for Dad. A soft wool scarf for Mom. A gift card to that overpriced burger bar my brother loved. I had them wrapped, ready by the door. Because that's what family does, right? You give. You show up. Even when it's not reciprocated. Except, apparently, when you're me. I stared at those photos until my vision blurred. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. I knew I shouldn't call. Knew I should just delete the app, pretend it didn't matter. But I needed to hear it. I needed to hear someone admit it out loud. Evan answered on the second ring. "Yo," he said casually, his voice already annoying. "Was the family dinner yesterday?" I asked. There was a pause, maybe a second. "Oh yeah," he said, followed by a laugh. "We kind of forgot to tell you." He laughed, not a nervous laugh, not a guilty one, just careless, like it didn't matter. "You forgot?" "Yeah." Another chuckle. "Oops. Oops, like stepping on someone's foot, like misplacing your keys. Not like leaving your sister, your only sister, out of a dinner she'd been planning around." My fingers dug into the phone. I could have asked why, could have screamed, but I didn't, because I already knew. They hadn't forgotten. They'd chosen not to. They set a date. They coordinated schedules. They sent messages and reminders. And not once did anyone think to include me. Not Mom, not Dad. Not even my aunts who liked every single post I made. I hung up without another word. The worst part wasn't that they excluded me. It was that they didn't care. I wasn't an oversight. I was irrelevant. To them, I wasn't really family. I was the useful one. The one who sent money when things went wrong, who remembered birthdays, who organized Dad's retirement dinner, who fixed the messes others caused. I was useful until I wasn't. And now, looking at those smiling faces, I finally saw what that meant. I opened my banking app. My thumb hovered for a second. Then I found the recurring transfer to Evan. The few $100s I'd been sending every month for the past 3 years to help him get back on his feet. 3 taps. Confirm. Done. For the first time in my life, I wasn't angry. I was free. A few days passed before my phone buzzed. It was Mom. Mom. "Hey, sweetheart. Hope you're doing okay. Carter's having a rough month with rent again. Could you help him out just for now?" I stared at the message and smiled. Not a happy smile, the quiet kind that comes when something inside you finally clicks. The words came to me instantly. Ask him why he forgot to invite me to dinner, but I didn't send it. I just left her on read. Let the silence do the talking. Maybe for once they'd wonder why I wasn't answering. Or maybe they'd do what they always did. Dismiss it as me being overly emotional. Either way, I was done explaining myself. I didn't text back, didn't call, didn't apologize for existing. Instead, I really thought, about how we got here. I'd spent my whole life being the good one, the responsible one. The quiet achiever who didn't cause trouble, who handled her own problems and everyone else's. And what did that earn me? Not respect, not love, not even an invitation. Just expectations. Growing up in the Crane household was predictable. Evan was the golden boy, and I was the background noise. I don't mean they neglected me physically. I had food, clothes, birthday cakes. But affection, recognition, any sense that I mattered? That was all reserved for Evan. He was the wild one, the charming screw-up. When he got suspended from school for fighting, Mom defended him. Boys will be boys. When I got an award for top grades, she barely looked up from her crossword. That's nice, honey. When he wrecked his first car speeding down wet roads, Dad said, the tires must have been bad. When I got a job promotion, he said, don't work yourself to death, Lydia. Every failure of his was softened. Every success of mine was downplayed. The pattern set in early and hardened over time. At 16, I worked part-time at a bookstore to save up for college. I skipped parties, hoarded paychecks, dreamed about getting out. Evan? He quit his first job after a week and spent the next 3 months figuring out what he wanted. Mom said, he's under a lot of pressure. When I bought a used laptop with my own money, I found him using it the next day. What are you doing? I'd asked. Mom said I could borrow it, he said, not even looking up. He downloaded games, deleted files, and left it a mess. When I complained, Mom sighed, don't be so selfish, Lydia. By the time we reached our 20s, I had graduated early with a degree in finance. Evan dropped out after 1 semester. And somehow he was still the one they worried about. Every time he failed, I was the one they called. Lydia, sweetheart, Evan's having a hard time again. Could you help with rent this month? And every time I did. Because I thought, stupidly, that if I kept showing up, they'd finally see me. They didn't. And now, staring at that empty group chat where everyone else laughed and tagged each other in those stupid photos, I realized something profound. They hadn't forgotten me. They just never considered me part of them. I was the helper, the backup plan, the wallet. But this time, I was done. The silence was addictive. Every time my phone buzzed with their messages and I didn't respond, it gave me something I had never felt before. Control. For years, they had taken my availability for granted. I was always the reliable one, the one who never said no. And in their eyes, that meant I didn't need to be treated with the same care as everyone else. But now, I was gone. Not physically, just absent in a way they couldn't define or control. I waited for what would happen next. And sure enough, the first to crack wasn't my mom. It was my Aunt Celia, the same one who posted the dinner photos that started it all. Her message came 2 days later. Lydia, sweetheart, I just realized I didn't see you at the dinner. Were you out of town? I stared at her text for a while before answering. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard, weighing every word. Then I typed simply, no, Aunt Celia, I wasn't out of town. I wasn't invited. Then I hit send. I didn't expect her to reply so fast. Oh my goodness. That must be a mistake. I'm sure it was just a mix-up. Your mom would never... But even her reassurance trailed off into silence. I could almost hear the pause at the end of that text. Because deep down, she knew my mother was more than capable of that kind of exclusion. And just like that, the seed was planted. It didn't take long for word to spread. The next morning, my cousin Emily messaged me. Hey, Aunt Celia told me you weren't at the dinner. What happened? I debated lying, keeping the peace. But no, that version of me was gone. I wasn't invited, I wrote. I found out through Facebook photos. Her reply came back within seconds. Wait, what? That's insane. Everyone was there. I smiled at the screen, imagining their little family text chains lighting up with confusion and guilt. And for once, I didn't have to say much. The truth was doing all the work for me. It took only 24 hours for my mother to reach out. Her voicemail came through at 8:07 a.m. I didn't answer. Her voice had that sugary tone she used when she wanted to manipulate a situation without ever admitting fault. Lydia, sweetheart, I heard you've been telling people you weren't invited to dinner. That's not true, honey. It must have been some kind of misunderstanding. I'm sure we mentioned it at some point. Maybe you forgot? Anyway, let's not make a big deal out of this, okay? Love you. I listened once, then deleted it. A misunderstanding. That was her favorite word. When Evan borrowed money he never paid back, misunderstanding. When Dad forgot my birthday, misunderstanding. When Mom called me dramatic for being hurt, just a misunderstanding. It wasn't misunderstanding, it was habit. And for the first time, I wasn't playing along. By Friday, the family group chat was in chaos. Aunt Celia. I don't understand how Lydia didn't know about the dinner. Emily. Yeah, that's really weird. Who was supposed to invite everyone? Mom. It was just a miscommunication. Lydia's always busy. We assumed she couldn't make it. Amber, another cousin. Still, you should have checked. If it happened to me, I'd be pissed. Each message was another crack in their perfect family facade. My mom kept replying with fake smiles and cheerful emojis, desperately trying to patch the leaks. But the more she spoke, the worse it got, because everyone could see it now. The favoritism, the dismissiveness. The truth she'd kept under that "we're a happy family" act for years. I sat on my couch reading every word with quiet satisfaction. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to stay silent and let the guilt rot them from the inside. Then my father called. He never called. When I saw his name flash on my screen, I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Hello? He cleared his throat awkwardly, his voice low, almost rehearsed. Hey, Lyd. Listen, your mom's really upset. She thinks you're trying to turn the family against her. I almost laughed. I haven't said a word, Dad. I just told the truth when people asked. Yeah, but you're making things harder than they need to be. You know how your mother is. She doesn't like drama. I let out a small, sharp breath. Then she shouldn't create it. He went silent. Dad, I continued, why didn't you call me to invite me to dinner? He hesitated. I just assumed your mom handled it. There it was, the truth in all its emptiness. He hadn't even thought about me, not once. And now, when his precious family image was collapsing, then I mattered. I'm not fixing this for her, I said calmly. She did this to herself. And before he could guilt me into sympathy, I hung up. The next day, a text from Evan lit up my phone. Evan. Yo, why is Mom freaking out? What did you do? I smiled to myself. There it was, the golden boy panicking because the world wasn't revolving around him for once. Me. I didn't do anything. Maybe she's finally realizing I'm not just her ATM. 5 minutes passed before his next message. Evan. Wait, is this about you not sending me rent money? Seriously? You're gonna be petty over a dinner? I typed back slowly. Me. I gave you money for years. And the one time I wanted to be included, you laughed. I'm not being petty. I'm being done. He didn't reply, and I didn't need him to. Days passed, and then the shift began, subtle but visible. Aunt Celia messaged again, this time privately. Lydia, I just wanted you to know, I don't agree with what happened. You should have been there, your family. It was simple, but it meant more than I expected. For the first time in my life, someone saw me, really saw me. By the end of the month, the fallout was undeniable. My mom was cornered, scrambling to justify herself. Evan was struggling financially, and no one, not even my parents, was rushing to help this time. Even my dad, usually the peacekeeper, had grown quiet. I think he finally realized what it felt like to lose control of the one person who'd always kept everything together. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. For once, the balance of power was shifting all by itself. A week later, I got a call from Daniel, one of my cousins. We hadn't talked in months. Lydia, he said, what the hell happened with your parents? Everyone's talking. I smiled faintly. Depends what they're saying. I heard you weren't even invited to dinner. That's messed up. Yeah, I said softly. That's what happened. He hesitated. Now Mom's pissed because your mom is acting like you just didn't show up. She's making herself look bad. I let out a small laugh. That's because she cares more about looking bad than being bad. Wow, he said after a moment. You really aren't holding back anymore. No, I said. Not anymore. Meanwhile, the ripple effects were spreading. My mom's excuses stopped working. People were whispering, not maliciously, but with quiet judgment. The family that once looked picture perfect was now fractured in the one place my mother valued most, her reputation. And Evan? He was beginning to panic. The canceled payments had finally caught up to him. Rent, car, utilities, all due. And suddenly, the person he had always dismissed was the only one who could save him. It was almost poetic. Because when you build your world on someone else's kindness, you never expect that kindness to stop. And when it does, you start to drown. The night he showed up at my apartment, I wasn't surprised. I could hear his car from the street. Loud, rattling, still held together with duct tape and Dad's denial. I opened the door before he could knock. He looked exhausted, unshaven, and strangely unsure of himself. "Can we talk?" he asked. I folded my arm watch. He sighed. "Look, I know you're mad about the dinner." "I'm not mad, Evan," I interrupted. "I just finally see you for who you are." He blinked, caught off guard. "Whatever. I'm in a tight spot right now. Rent's due, and I was wondering if you could help you out?" I finished for him. He nodded, sheepish. I studied him for a long moment, then asked quietly, "You really don't get it, do you?" He frowned. "Get what?" I tilted my head. "That you can't keep taking from people and pretending it doesn't cost them something." He shifted, defensive. "We're family, Lydia." I smiled, the kind of cold, knowing smile that comes after years of being dismissed. "Funny," I said. "It didn't feel that way when you forgot about me." Then I closed the door. And for the first time in my life, the sound of it locking felt like freedom. For the first time in years, my phone stayed quiet. No more guilt texts. No more, "Can you help us just this once?" messages. No more pretending things were fine. It was peaceful, almost unnerving. For weeks, I'd built a wall around myself, made of boundaries instead of apologies. I went to work. I took long walks. I cooked dinner without checking my phone every 5 minutes. The world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. It was strange, realizing how easy life could be once you stopped setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. But the quiet never lasts long when you've lived your life as someone's safety net. It started with an email from my mother. Short, cold, formal. Subject: "This has gone far enough. Lydia, your behavior lately has been hurtful and immature. We never meant to exclude you. You are overreacting. Please call me so we can put this behind us." That was it. No apology, no accountability. Just another reminder that in her world, my pain was an inconvenience to be swept away. I didn't respond. A few days later, Dad called again. This time he sounded tired. "Lyd, look, your mom's not doing well. She's embarrassed. The whole family's talking. Maybe you could call her? Smooth things over?" I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. "Dad," I said quietly, "do you even know why this started?" He hesitated. "Because of that dinner thing?" "No," I interrupted. "Because I finally stopped pretending I was okay being invisible." He didn't say anything. I could tell he wanted to, but there was no script for this kind of honesty. "I'm done fixing things for her," I continued. "She broke it. She can fix it herself." "Lydia, don't do this," he pleaded softly. "She's your mother," I sighed. "Exactly." Then I hung up. 2 weeks passed before I heard from Evan again. Not a text this time, a knock at my door. It was raining. He looked worse than before. Same faded hoodie, same hollow eyes. His charm, that easy, careless grin he'd relied on his whole life, was gone. "Lydia, please," he said the moment I opened the door. "Just hear me out." I crossed my arms. "You've got 5 minutes." He exhaled heavily. "Look, I know I messed up, okay? I shouldn't have laughed. I shouldn't have forgotten I existed," I cut in. He winced. "Yeah, that. But I'm in serious trouble right now. I got laid off. My landlord's threatening to evict me. I don't have anywhere else to go." For a moment, I just looked at him. The same brother who once mocked me for being too uptight. The same one who always landed on his feet because someone, usually me, made sure he did. And now, there he was, standing in the rain, shivering, finally out of options. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you're the only one who ever helps me," he said quietly. "Mom and Dad won't. They're mad at me for all this drama. They said I should talk to you." I almost laughed. Of course they did. When the son they worshipped finally stumbled, Who did they send him to? The daughter they ignored. I took a slow breath. You want money again? He didn't deny it, just looked down. I studied him the way a scientist might study a failed experiment. There was pity, sure, but no obligation. I'll make you a deal, I said finally. His head snapped up. Anything. I'll help you, I said slowly, if you answer one question honestly. He frowned, wary. Okay. When you planned that dinner, I asked, when everyone was messaging and scheduling and buying food, did my name ever come up? He blinked, caught off guard. What? You heard me. Did anyone say, what about Lydia? He hesitated. I don't remember. That's not true, I said quietly. You do remember. You just don't want to admit it. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting away. It wasn't like that. We just assumed you were busy. Busy, I repeated flatly. That's your excuse? He looked desperate now. Come on, Lyd. You know how Mom is. She plans these things last minute. I didn't even think. That's exactly the problem, I said. You never think. He opened his mouth, then shut it again. Rain dripped from his hood, tracing down his jaw. Lydia, please, he said finally, voice breaking a little. I'm sorry. I really am. And for a second, I almost believed him. But then I remembered every time I'd bailed him out, every time I'd been brushed aside, every time my kindness had been met with entitlement. No, I said softly. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you need me. His face crumpled. So that's it? You're just gonna let me lose everything? I met his eyes. Welcome to my world. And then I closed the door. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I felt guilty, but because I didn't. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone else's burden. I wasn't the fixer, the buffer, the invisible glue that held the family together while they took me for granted. I had let go. And letting go, I realized, wasn't cruel. It was freedom. A month later, the consequences began to take root. Mom's social circle had shrunk overnight. Once the envy of every Sunday brunch, she now found herself mysteriously uninvited from gatherings. The whispers had grown too loud to ignore. People had seen how she treated me, and they didn't like what it said about her. Dad, meanwhile, was exhausted. Years of quietly enabling her had finally caught up. The calls between us grew shorter. I think he knew he couldn't defend her anymore. And Evan was finally learning what it meant to live without a safety net. He picked up odd jobs, crashed on a friend's couch, and learned that apologies don't pay rent. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Life has a way of delivering lessons better than revenge ever could. But fate has a funny sense of timing. One evening just before winter, there was another knock at my door. When I opened it, I didn't find Evan. I found Mom. She looked smaller, her hair unstyled, her posture slouched. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Just stood there, clutching her purse like it might protect her. Lydia, she said finally, can I come in? I stepped aside without a word. She entered hesitantly, glancing around like she'd never been in my apartment before. Which, of course, she hadn't. I won't stay long, she said. I just wanted to talk. I nodded, staying silent. She took a deep breath. You've made your point. My point? I echoed. Yes, she said quickly. You're upset. You felt left out. I understand that. But this silent treatment, it's tearing the family apart. I tilted my head slightly. You mean it's making people see what you actually did? Her face tightened. You always twist things. No, I said softly. I'm just not pretending anymore. She sank onto the couch, rubbing her temples. For the first time in my life, she looked old, not in years, but in exhaustion. I don't know when we got like this, she whispered. You used to be such a sweet girl. I still am, I said. You just mistook my kindness for obedience. She looked up sharply as if she wanted to argue, but the fight drained out of her before it could start. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said after a long pause, and for a moment, I almost believed her. But then she added, You have to understand, your brother. I raised a hand. Stop. Just stop. She froze. This isn't about Evan. This isn't about money or dinners or gossip. It's about the fact that you raised me to think I had to earn love, that I had to keep giving to deserve a seat at the table. And when I finally stopped giving, you made sure I didn't have one. Her eyes glistened. You're making me sound like a monster. I don't have to, I said quietly. You already did. The room fell silent. She stared at me for a long time, and I think for the first time she actually saw me. Not as a daughter to manage, not as a resource to use, but as a person. Then, without another word, she stood up, nodded stiffly, and left. Weeks passed. Christmas came again. This time there were no invitations, no fake apologies, no pictures on Facebook, and honestly, I was fine with that. I spent the evening on my own, a small dinner, soft music, and the faint glow of city lights outside my window. There was no tension, no forced smiles, no pretending, just peace. When I checked my phone that night, I noticed a message from Evan. Hey, I got a job. It's not great, but it's something. Just wanted to say thanks for making me figure things out. It wasn't much, but it was something. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire and fury. Sometimes it's quieter, a choice to step back, to stop feeding what drains you, to let people face their own reflection without you holding the mirror. That was my revenge. Not ruining them, just removing myself. And when you stop being their cushion, they finally feel the floor. I poured myself another glass of wine, watching the snow fall outside. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel lie.